I think we can all agree that breakups are tough and they can really take this side of us over where we're grieving, we're feeling lonely, we're feeling like, why did this relationship end so suddenly? And when that's compounded with having an ex who suddenly moves on because perhaps that's their way of dealing with the breakup or they're rebounding quickly, that can make things so much more difficult. So, in this video, I really want to cover just some supportive strategies for anxious preoccupied or at least anxious leaning individuals on the attachment style continuum. And we're going to talk specifically about what to do when your ex moves on or if they're rebounding with somebody, and how to really focus on yourself, your own boundaries, your own healing, and some really important steps to take to minimize the experience of heartache, and also to make sure that you're not allowing the situation to cause so much more suffering than you're already going through, right? And being able to really nourish yourself through this experience instead of, stalking the ex perhaps and their new partner or the person they're seeing and doing things that make an already difficult situation even harder for you. So, the very first thing that's really important is if your ex moves on, to not tell stories about what that means about you. The subconscious mind, it loves to give meaning to experiences. It's the subconscious mind's way to really find certainty. So when left to its own devices and when left on autopilot, the subconscious mind will engage in all this sort of autopilot storytelling activity. Things maybe along the lines of, oh, because my ex moved on, I'm not good enough. Because my ex moved on, they never cared about me. I'm not worthy of future relationships. Nobody will want to stick around and stay with me long term. I'll always be abandoned. See, we start telling these stories because we're trying to make meaning out of the situation to derive some kind of certainty as to what's going on and why this is happening. But unfortunately, the pile of information your subconscious tries to get that certainty from is usually based on our core wounds from past experiences. And we know for anxious preoccupied individuals, especially according to integrated attachment theory, um, we know anxious preoccupied and anxious leaning individuals tend to share in a lot of those core wounds around abandonment, not feeling good enough, not feeling lovable, being afraid to be alone, feeling unsafe on their own. So a lot of these different dynamics is what the subconscious mind will just go into and really feed into. And that really adds insult to injury. That makes an already challenging situation that much more difficult. So, tool number one, please do your best to question those stories, equilibrate those stories. Don't let your mind run on autopilot and keep, thinking all those things and essentially attacking yourself with those types of thoughts, right? Like when you start thinking, oh, then I'm not lovable. Oh, I was never good enough. You're really causing pain to yourself. It's not a very kind thing to do in the relationship to yourself. And it would be, verbally abusive if somebody was speaking like that to you. So why are you doing that to yourself? So just being very mindful about that is extremely important. Number two, you have to come up with really good boundaries. We need those boundaries. I get it. I get that as an anxious leaning individual, you tend to get your need for certainty met through your external relationships. And so that means that when left to your own devices, your subconscious mind as well will end up stalking the ex, right? Like trying to figure out what's going on with them and trying to understand. And that's again, this way that your mind tries to get certainty, but it's one with so many downsides. That form of trying to get certainty will cause you to feel, preoccupied with the past, which will really stop you from being able to move forward in the present and into your future. So you want to have really strong boundaries set out for yourself. And that means you sitting down and deciding, what will I not touch under any circumstances? And those will be your personal commitment, right? You'll show up and commit to those boundaries, commit to probably going no contact, is what I highly recommend. Commit to not going and looking through their social media and really noticing how much hurt it causes you to go and do that, right? It might give you the short-term gratification of like, it satiates your curiosity, but it doesn't actually cause you to feel good. And so just being mindful about that, listening to your feelings, right? Those feelings about when you are there and you feel anxious and you're looking through the social media or you're, trying to figure out what's going on with your ex and who they're dating. It doesn't make you feel good if you pay attention to how you're feeling while you're doing those things. It's sort of like eating a whole bunch of chocolate, right? It's this sort of like little short-term gratification, but then you feel icky after, right? And this is, even worse to the degree that it probably causes you to feel anxious and sad and alone and, all sorts of different things that you don't need when you're trying to heal. So define those boundaries, make a commitment to them, stick to them in the best way that you possibly can. Number 3, it is really important to learn what you need to be able to heal through this experience. And generally, what you're going to be seeking the most is the needs that your ex met for you, because that's where the void is at the subconscious level of mind. So what do I mean by this? Well, we have a whole course in PDS you can actually check out for free for 14 days, specifically for a Black Friday special that we're doing right now, that extends a little bit here on YouTube. And we probably won't be doing a 14-day trial again. You literally get access to everything in PDS for 14 days, all of our courses, the 4 live webinars I do with our students every single week. You can pop in there, ask me a question, all that good stuff. So that link is down below. But in that link, if you're trying to check out a course specifically, you want to go through the How to Heal from a Breakup course. And it will outline all these different things around boundaries and stories and needs. But when I'm talking about needs here specifically, at a high level, because obviously the course is a lot, more in depth than I can put in a YouTube video, but at a high level, what you'll see is like, let's say your ex met the need for validation. Maybe they validated you a lot. Maybe they encouraged you. Maybe they made you feel safe. Maybe they made you feel protected. There's all these sorts of different needs that people will say that their past relationships met for them. Well, you have to get really good at meeting those needs in relationship to yourself and going out into the world and asking other people you love and care about, your good friends, your family members, people you trust and have longstanding relationships with. You have to get really good at going out and meeting those needs, right? Like the more you have those buckets of needs filled, the less your subconscious mind tries to reroute you back to the ex as a strategy to get those needs met. So it really frees you. And what grief largely is, there's a few things, but one of the big things that grief is actually the void of needs that we were getting met from a past relationship that's now not being met in our current life. And that's part of what we're aching over, is that void. So that's a really important thing to be good at, to practice meeting in the relationship to yourself. And the better you get at meeting needs in relationship to self, the easier it will be to self-soothe. And thus, the easier it will be to have long-standing secure relationships in the future. Number 4. Be very mindful of the comparison game your mind might like to play. The comparison game, whenever somebody's really comparing themselves to somebody else, maybe I'll make a separate video about this, but it's because the subconscious mind, again, is trying to get certainty and trying to get a clear stance on who I am. So there's this element of the subconscious mind trying to gain certainty as a need, and this element of you more at a conscious or pre-conscious level, but of trying to figure out, like, where do I belong in the world? And if you're not sure about your self-identity and who you are and what you need and what's important to you and what your boundaries are, often we'll see somebody compare themselves a lot to other people because it's the subconscious mind's way of trying to derive who it is and where it stands in the world. Now, when it comes to exes, right? If your ex is dating somebody else or rebounding with somebody else, it's a really easy trap to fall into, but it means nothing. Comparing yourself to somebody else, like, we have to remember people have such different programming growing up, such different needs, such different features that drive attraction and compatibility. And so when we're in a position where we're comparing ourselves to somebody else, especially when we're seeing them in like a picture or something on, a video, like when we get these little snippets of somebody, we really don't know all that they are, all that we are, all the reasons that our ex is in the position they are in and making the choices they are in, or they are from like their own woundedness, their own programming, their own fear, their own subconscious comfort zone of what makes them feel attracted to others. You don't know all of that. And so going into this idea of like nitpicking somebody else and comparing yourself to them and then really nitpicking yourself even more accordingly, again, it's like giving your energy to nothing. And it's something really important to just set personal thought and emotional boundaries around, because the more you do that, the better you're going to feel. And then step number 5 Make a set of action steps to help you move forward. What do you want to focus on? What's up next for you in this next season of life? Do you want to improve your career? Do you want to improve your physical health? When you create personal goals that you want to drive yourself towards, that you want to show up for, it helps you stop focusing on the past and gets you focused in your mindset on the solutions in the future, what you want to become, what you want to heal, what type of relationship you want to have coming up next, how to prepare yourself to be ready for that kind of relationship by doing inner growth work or improving communication, like whatever it is. When you've got goals for yourself going forward, then it stops you from getting so stuck and hung up on past experiences. So, those are 5 really important tips to help you navigate when your ex moves on, when they might be rebounding, and how to really show up for yourself during that process, especially by going no contact. So, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying this video or enjoyed this video specifically, please give it a thumbs up. Please share. Please subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next video.